Hi and welcome to a quick video session on web to lead forms and how to create them in the CRM and the concept behind them. So a web to lead form is basically a way that you can generate a web form from within the CRM, paste it into your website or any other kind of web site like an intranet or some kind of blog or anything like this, and then use that to capture leads directly into the CRM. And to do this, it's an administrating task. So you'd go to Setup and then across here to Website Integration, Web Forms. Okay, so I'll click there. There's one that's been created as an example. So if I go in here and just create or edit this form, you'll see the form design here on the right and the list of fields down here on the left side. Now, to put a field into the form is very easy. You would choose the field from the left, drag it into the form over here. So for example, if I wanted to put the state or the province in the address fields here, I would simply drag it across and then drop it in the position that I want it. If I want to then make any of the fields required, I would simply click the gear icon and then mark as required and done. Now you see the small asterisk on there. That is now a required field. So again, on the email, that's an important field, for example. I set required, done. Okay, so that's now a required field on the web form that you're going to use. If, for example, I have a field that is, for example, called lead source or a status field or some kind of field like that I want to default to a particular value when a user submits their data, I can do that as well, and I can hide that field. So for example, status, I can drag that in. Now, say I want to default that to a value. I don't actually want anyone to fill that value in because that's an internal field used by my sales team, for example. I can click the options and then click this as a hidden field and then put this in the default value. So, for example, it might be a lead coming in, hasn't yet been qualified, for example, or contacted. You might just say contact in future. And then I click done. Now it will put a gray box around it, meaning that it's hidden, but the value will be contact in future when the user submits the data. That will go straight into the CRM with that value. So that's a very good way of logging lead source, statuses, ratings and stuff like that, and saving a bit of time for the salespeople in follow-up process, so they don't need to fill that in. It goes in and it's done automatically at the web form stage. They can then change it later on. As I go through, I've done all my fields. For example, I can also put in things like help links or help text. So for example, if I want to help someone on here, I want to say, right, we want to know more about your product interest, just to prompt them to fill in the information. I can click the icon again, click help link or text only. If I have a link on my website, I can refer to it there. More likely you'll use text only, and you can just type in a kind of a tooltip. Something like that, and then click done. Okay, and that will appear with that question mark icon on the form. Okay, so now I'm building up my form. I can go ahead and I can do those kinds of things for the different fields. Bear in mind, when you design a form, it's not just about the layout, it's about the psychology behind it. So you need to make any data that you need to report on, or for sales follow-up, if it's essential, then you need to make those fields required at the form stage and put them in so that the salespeople have the right information to do their follow-ups. Okay, so that's something that you need to bear in mind. Another point is if you want a field to appear here, but it does not appear on the left-hand side, that means it needs to be added to the CRM first. Okay, so you need to add those fields in order to populate the form. You need to do that first. Advanced tools here is for paid editions only, and for example you can have a file upload that can be useful for a requirements gathering type form, and especially useful is the capture one, the second one down there. You can drag and drop that into the form, and it's a capture mechanism designed to stop spammers and spam bots on your web form. Strongly recommended. Across the top here we've got basic editing functions, so you can choose the font of the labels, for example. You can just change the font, very basic, but it does allow you to do some kind of changes at this level. Sizes of the form labels, and colors of the text. Also fill function, so you can fill the form in whatever color. Okay, so this is basic, but it does mean that you can, as a CRM administrator, control some of the formatting of the form. But usually this kind of stuff is done at the website level, and it's done by the web developers who will integrate the HTML, which we'll come to in a second. They will normally make the form follow the website style sheet, so you don't really usually need to worry about this at this stage. And over here we've got a couple of other functions, so left, right, top align, and the width of the form as well. This can be useful as well because you can sometimes, the form width can sometimes affect the look of the form on the page. Okay, so it's good if you can liaise with the web developers, whoever will integrate this to the website, to see if they need a certain width. Okay, so those things are basic editing functions, and then you can preview the form here, so that's basically what it will look like. And the next part is how to get this into your website. So in order to do that, you have to proceed to the next step, so click next step, and then you would give it a name. So we've just called this general contact us, and then you can give it a landing page URL. Now what does that mean? This again requires some forethought of the whole web form process, because this means this URL is what URL do you want to direct the form submitter to after they click submit. Okay, so normally this is a thank you page of some kind, so it might be mydomain.com/thankyou.html, something like that. So again, that would need to be designed before you go and do this form in order for you to test it properly. Here we've just put a home page for Zoho. The form location URL, this is if you want to restrict the locations of the forms. You do have some tooltips here, by the way. This itself uses the form function that we've just been doing. Okay, I find that this is a lot easier when you just do a universal type URL there. Okay, so if you're not sure or you want it everywhere, it doesn't matter where the form will be hosted, just enter a star, and then you don't have to worry about an exact URL where the web form will be. Assign owner. Normally it will default to the logged in person doing this function, or you can actually create, you can select a user from the list, or you can choose a lead assignment rule, and these need to have been created beforehand, or you go ahead and create one now. So for example, leads in the north assigned to this person, leads in the south assigned to that person, that kind of things, or leads with a certain product interest assigned to him, other products assigned to her, that kind of thing. And then down here, notification, do you want to acknowledge the visitor with an email? So this is a standard template that again needs to be created before you do this, or you can go ahead and you have to create it now on this function. But it helps if you've done this beforehand, then you can just select the template that you want, because the forms also can have different autoresponders depending on what form it's for and what purpose. Or you can just select not to notify the visitor. They just get directed to the thank you page, and that's it. And then visitor tracking, this is another topic really, but this is powered by Zoho Sales IQ. So you can see who's clicking and the results of their click-throughs and so on. It's another topic, another session, and also will require a license for Zoho Sales IQ. And request for approval. This is if you want to have a manual process approving leads from an administration type of view. In truth, this has not been used a lot by any of our customers, so this just goes ahead and you don't have to request approval. It will just go straight to this owner and alert them accordingly. When I finish that, I basically click Save, and you'll be taken to this page here, which are the embed options, and what you need to do then is basically copy the code, Control C to copy it, and then click Done. And basically now that process is finished from a CRM administration point of view, and what you would do then is to copy and paste that HTML into Notepad, save as an HTML file, and then paste that HTML into your website. So basically the HTML could be across here, that could be your file, and then you can file save as code.html and then send that to your web developer. Your web developer just takes that code and then can paste that within the contact page of the website. You can even save this locally. You can save it on your desktop as an HTML file. Just to test it, you can then double click that file and then fill in the form fields and then click submit, and the data will go into the CRM. This is a good way just to test it locally before you send it to the web developer guys, and then that way the information will go into the CRM. You should receive an email, thank you, and so on, just as you set up in the web to lead process, and you can test it just on your computer before sending it to be integrated to the website. And that's a good idea, because if there are errors, for example, if you miss a field out and you need to add it back, or you had the wrong field in there or something, you generally need to regenerate this code after you've fixed it. So it's best to test this form locally, save it on your hard drive, save it on your desktop, wherever, double click it, fill in the form, go through the process, and then check it works before you give it to be integrated into your website. And this basically is the web to lead process. Thanks very much.